5, 4.
The Great Escape. One fine day, as usual, Cruz and Clay were playing in the back garden. It was a very hot day and both were in their favourite football team's kit, the Arsenal. All the family were avid Arsenal fans, which they got into due to their Grandad supporting Arsenal. However, when Grandad was a young lad himself, he'd been a very naughty boy, and as a punishment he'd been sent up north to Sheffield. They do say, gum, it's grim up north, and cold to boot, but Grandad desperately wanted to come back down south so he could be with the family. So every night, with Cruz and Clay, they planned a strategy to get Grandad back down south without anyone knowing. Otherwise, if he got caught, they could send him even further north, like Durham, or perhaps maybe even Scotland. Just about as far north as one could get, and it really was grim there. On top of that, you had to be very careful, as a virus known as the sweaty sock virus was easily caught up there, and there was no known cure. You just had to ride out the illness until it ended. That could be any time. And there's Cruz and Clay in the Arsenal's football strip, in the back garden. You can see that quite clearly. Yeah. The plan was for Grandad to sneak down south the next time Arsenal played Sheffield United. Grandad would hide in the baggage compartment of the United coach and travel down with the United team, albeit without their knowing. It was a match day, and Grandad needed to hurry into his hiding place before the coach left for the Arsenal stadium. It was very uncomfortable, and the journey was very bumpy. So by the time the coach pulled into the stadium's car park in London, Grandad was covered in bruises from head to foot and ached all over. So there he is, hiding in the baggage compartment of the Sheffield United team bus. Finally, he staggered off the coach and headed off in the direction of Cruz and Clay's shed to meet up with them and go to the match. Grandad had already seen the United team as he was hidden on their team coach. He sneakily opened up the bag of Sheffield United striker and put a sleeping tablet into his drinks flask. So if he got thirsty, he'd end up flat on his back in the land of Nod. This was part B of Grandad's original plan A. He also had a part C, D and E if required. You can never be over-prepared, were the words bouncing around in Grandad's head, as it was one of his favourite sayings, and he did like his sayings, slogans, one-liners, etc., etc., etc. At last, Grandad tottered into the shed. Cruz and Clay were not there, as they'd gone for their tea. There's been shouted for the tea, and they're waiting, Cruz and Clay, in the garden shed, waiting for Grandad to come. Yeah? Because it was so late, they went straight to the stadium to watch the match. They'd waited as long as they could before the game kicked off. Meanwhile, Grandad again collapsed onto the floor of the shed and went straight back to sleep. Well, at least he'd made it back down south undetected. So after all the months of planning, plan A, B, C and D, E and F were all useless, as Grandad had fallen asleep and missed the match. At least when Cruz and Clay got back, they'd be able to tell him the score. And at least they were all down south and nowhere near the sweaty sock pandemic. The end. And there he is asleep in the bed in the shed.
Very good.
So I hope you enjoyed that story and have a good night's sleep. Good night. And God bless. That's okay, that one, isn't it?